This was a scene from St. Petersburg, Florida in 1996, not that long after I left there. I'd been living there for 2.5 years. What happened was that police had shot 18-year-old Tyrone Lewis. I was in Amsterdam at the time, sitting in front of my TV upset, but the people around me, they didn't understand, because to them it was just another Rodney King thing. Far away in a distant country. We didn't have much of an internet yet. It formally existed, but nobody was using it yet. That's what it boils down to. Now, St. Petersburg, Florida. I was living in Rosa Park, and one day I came home and found to my utter surprise that my door was closed, locked from the inside. That's a bit odd, isn't it? So I went to my neighbors and we called the police. A little bit later, 2 police officers showed up and they talked with me. We went over to my place and I noticed to my utter surprise that one of those cops, the one who went to the door, was very, very nervous because he had no idea what he was going to encounter inside. He was much more nervous than I was, and he was a police officer. I did not expect that. That taught me a lot about what goes on with police officers. They are confronted with unknowns constantly. Often it's danger, but often it's not. They're always primed for danger. That must have a lot to do with a heck of a lot of stuff that's been happening. It's not the entire picture, I know that. Now, what had happened actually was the following. I had a latch on the inside, you know, one of those sliding things. I also had blinds on the inside, and as soon as the guy opened the door, said nobody was inside, I stepped inside, looked at the door, and I thought, oh shit, I know what's happened. I closed the door, the blinds swung and hit the latch and closed the door. I knew instantly that that is what happened. But the cop wasn't entirely sure. I said, yes, I'm sure. I was terribly embarrassed, but that is what happened. And I fastened the blinds after that and it didn't happen again. I think it gave me some insight in what goes on in police offices, like I just said. Now, let's move back a little bit further. I'm in Amsterdam and I've just been raped in my own house by a stranger an intruder basically. And after that I called a friend and then police. In those days there wasn't a heck of a lot of sensitivity training for police officers. I dealt with one guy, I think his name was Zwart, but I'm not entirely sure. And I dealt with an investigator called Poelman. They were both really nice, absolutely no problems, very understanding, very gentle. Poelman was a great guy. I have absolutely nothing negative to say about what happened in those days. So that was a very positive experience with police I'd had. The experience I had in St. Petersburg was also pretty positive. I mean, they came out there and they were nervous and they helped me and they opened the door for me. I mean, what more can you expect? They could have been angry with me, but no, they weren't. Fast forward to now. Police in Somerset-on-Avon, Bristol, tasered their own race relations advisor because he was black and he resembled a suspect who was black. The fact that they didn't recognize the guy tells me that having a race relations advisor is basically for politics because it looks good. Otherwise, they would have known the guy. Let's face it, they would have known the guy. Police have changed a lot over the years, but there's also been something else that police officers may not be aware of at all. They have immense powers. They are above the law. They can do whatever they want. No, don't contradict me now. It's true, and you know it. My middle sister had a cop friend for a while. They lived together. The first time they visited me in Amsterdam, what did my sweet sister's boyfriend do? He walked into my bedroom as if it were his bedroom. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not something people normally do to each other. You don't walk into a stranger's bedroom. And I think that his experience as a cop made him feel entitled to do many, many, many things that ordinary people like you and me are not supposed to do and are not allowed to do. And I think that cops are not aware of that enough. Here is another scene. An art performance in New York. Fully subsidized, fully legal, absolutely nothing going on. But what happens? Police show up with a swagger, provocative, basically making an ass of themselves. I think that police officers have two ways of dealing with the stress that they have. There are others, of course. Some are terribly provocative, walk around with a swagger, here I am, you got something against me, bang! And then they say whatever they say. And the other ones are very tense, like a coiled, very tense spring that's about to jump at any kind of occurrence that might pose a danger, but doesn't have to be a danger at all. They're just that coiled, that aware of danger, that scared, basically. Again, it's not the entire picture, because there have also been FBI reports that there's a heck of a lot of connections between the far right and police in the United States. I'm not going to go into that. And then, of course, there's the fact that police officers are basically paid servants. By which I mean that we, the taxpayers, pay a heck of a lot of money to fund the police. But here in the UK and also in the US, if you organize any kind of event, police will send you a bill. It's one of the major money makers for police. Music festivals, demonstrations, stuff like that, sports events. That, to me, is ethically incorrect. It does not feel right that I, as taxpayer, pay police officers who then go work basically as a commercial enterprise. That is something that does not sit right with me. It doesn't feel ethically right that they're basically serving as security services while constantly claiming that they don't have enough manpower to, well, look after ordinary citizens like me, because that's not something police still do these days. At least, not in my experience, not here in the UK. To sum it all up, I do believe that police forces should be dismantled. That is not because I have something against all police officers or because I believe that all police officers are corrupt or racist, but because police forces simply aren't working anymore. They're expensive, they're ineffective, and if you ask cops about their job satisfaction, you'll get to hear that most of them don't like their work at all, that they expected something very different when they signed up. But like most of us, they also get stuck in their job. And after a while, it's probably all they can still do. So I believe that we should start over with new organizations, no relation to the previous cultures and structures, because they would get stuck in the exact same problems. I truly believe that we should start over with new organizations, start over from scratch. And the police officers who are not very happy in their jobs right now are probably the best ones to tell us how to do that.